Hello and welcome to A Cat in the Garden, and this is our garden tour. So for the month of August, at first glance it might not look like there's too many changes out here in the garden, but I have some new projects I'm working on, new seeds I'm starting, and I think it looks a little bit different as we're kind of transitioning and preparing for fall. So without further ado, let me go show you the garden. First up over here is my seedling table, and I actually just finished watering all of the seeds that I planted. Some of these I planted about a week ago, some about a few days ago, so hopefully they'll start sprouting soon. And then I have two vincas that I need to plant up, as well as a milkweed. It's actually about to flower, so that's kind of funny. And I'm really loving the addition of the seedling table here in the garden. It just makes things a lot easier in terms of organization of all my stuff, as well as a place to keep my seedlings safe from the harsh sun. So we'll cover this back up. See you, Nutmeg. And these two beds here are a little bit of a disappointment. I think I went over this last month. The soil in here is just not good, so things are not growing the way that they're supposed to. The only thing that's doing really well is my sesame. I absolutely love this plant. It's got beautiful fuzzy leaves. The flowers are a really pretty purple, and it produces quite a lot of these seed pods right here. Once they're ready to harvest, they will actually split open, and then I can go ahead and collect the seeds that are inside. I did plant a few more seeds. Two of them came up, so hopefully in the fall they will be producing as well. I'm actually going to pretty soon rip up this entire bed. I bought some soil amendments, and then I will put them in some fertilizer and maybe try to grow something in the fall. But this bed has been a total failure, as I only got 3 peppers from it the entire season. And it's especially sad when compared to this bed, which is doing so much better. And let me see if I have any peppers in here right now. I kind of harvest as they come up. These are my lemon drops. And then I have some Hungarian paprika here. I did recently harvest the ones that were ripe, but I've got more coming along. This is more paprika as well. I have a lot of flowers for the serrano, so hopefully I'll get some soon. I have a couple pepperoncini here and there, a couple shishitos here and there, and then of course my beautiful chives and my blue salvia. Over here, this is my blackberry bed. I'm just kind of maintaining the blackberries at this point. They're far done producing. I did add a couple of pepper plants in here. These are the candy cane variegated bell pepper, one of my favorites from last year. And once I saw how beautiful they were at the nursery, I had to bring them home. But unfortunately, I didn't have space for them in this pepper bed, so they're just gonna hang out here. Next to it, this is technically my asparagus bed, but my Swiss chard has survived the entire summer, which I didn't think it would do, so it's hanging out in here. I have a pepper plant. My basil got way bigger than I thought it would, and I do have the asparagus. It is actually putting out some fall shoots, which I think is funny because it is nowhere near fall here in Texas. And then this is the point of the year where you just kind of let it go, and it looks really cool. It's got these like fern-like fronds that it creates, as well as flowers if it is a female plant, which I don't think this one is actually. I think this one's a male. And yeah, if it flowers, then you can get berries. But that is the asparagus. Next to it, I did actually chop down all of the artichokes, so hopefully they will kind of go dormant for the winter and then come back up in the spring. I've just got a couple of small herbs here, like the tarragon. It's struggling a little bit, but hopefully it'll be okay. And my lemongrass is doing really well. This was 2 very small plants that I bought in March, and they've just exploded with growth. They've turned into one giant monster of a plant. So I'm thinking I might have to harvest some soon, but this has been a super easy plant to grow here. Next to it, this bed is kind of a jumble of things. This was a radish that I planted in the winter. I thought it died, and it suddenly came back. So this is one of my black Spanish radishes, seeds that I got from my mom from her plants. You can tell because of the dark purple stems here. A normal radish, the stems would be pink. So that one will be exciting. They are a larger radish than normal, so I'm gonna wait a little bit to harvest it. My scallions back here are definitely ready to harvest. They are looking absolutely beautiful. And then this is my acorn squash, which almost died due to a squash vine borer, but I was able to save it. And I have a successful hand pollination right there, which I'm looking forward to having. I also have my carrots. A few of them went to flower and then seed. And these are the seed heads. So if I shake them a lot, you will be able to just scatter the seeds around, which has kind of happened naturally, as I do have carrots growing in here. I also planted some beans in the meantime until I can get my fall crops in here. So I have a row plus one of soybeans, and then I have 2 rows of the bush beans, which I'm hoping I timed right and they'll start producing in the fall. Behind it here, this is my strawberry bed. It's looking a little bit worn out. Somehow the kale is still alive. I'm just kind of keeping it until winter when it'll be better to eat. The strawberries have been pushing out runners, which is great. They're looking a little sunburnt, a little tired of the heat, but if they can just hold on a few more weeks, it will let up and they'll be doing a bit better. I also have this beautiful German winter thyme. It's one of my favorite thyme varieties to grow. I love the super long, tall stalks, really perfect for cooking. And then I have a small variegated sage in here that I think it should take off and do better next year. This is my original cherry tomato bed. Let me see if I have any ripening. I do. Cute little black cherry tomato up here. I have, these are the black strawberry tomato. There's one ripening back here. Oh, it came off. All right. Well, this will finish. Oh, something went in there. All right, I will put that on the counter. I do have my spider friend that I like to feed. Won't focus on him, but I like to give him squash bugs every day. I've got some sun golds over here and a lot more plants or a lot more tomatoes behind the spider producing. And then I have this giant basil plant as well as some little marigolds and some leeks in here. And this basil just won't stop trying to flower, which is fun. Next to it, this is supposed to be my slicing tomato bed, but the only ones that I got this summer were these canistry now, coming from these plants right here, the taller ones. I do have some leeks. I have another basil. And then coming around here, I had aromas. They did absolutely terribly. They get disease really quickly here in my garden. So I ripped them all up and I started replacing them with my fall tomatoes. So the first one that I put in is my sun sugar. I like to do cherry tomatoes for the fall because they don't need as much time until they produce and it doesn't take as much energy to produce a tomato. So the sun sugar is doing really well. And then most recently, I added this super sweet 100 and this black cherry tomato. They're just getting established now, so I probably won't expect flowers and fruit for them for a little bit, but hopefully right as the weather starts to cool, we'll get a lot of tomatoes. And then over here is my other slicing tomato bed. This one struggled a bit because I got it planted really late and it was already hot, but they are recovering. They're starting to do better. And I do have one slicing tomato that is growing. This is a terracotta tomato from Baker Creek Seeds, and it's sizing up pretty quickly. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I'm gonna get from it, what the color is at the end. And then over here, I've got, these are the watermelon beefsteak. They are trying to flower quite a bit, and they have grown quite the most, I would say, in terms of all of the tomatoes here. So I'm hoping I will also get some tomatoes from them, maybe in the fall, but that's okay because they're already established plants, so they might produce a little bit quicker. Behind it over here, I have my, what was once my garlic bed. No, not garlic, these were onions. These were my onions in the spring, and I just kind of planted a few things not knowing what they would do. And the sweet potatoes kind of took over. Unfortunately, my straight neck squash over here succumbed to squash vine borers, so I'm pretty upset about that, but they're just a menace here. And then I do have a spaghetti squash growing in here. It's only been putting up male flowers so far. I'm waiting to see if it'll give me a female flower, but it's kind of small, kind of getting drowned out by just how prolific the sweet potatoes are. And next to it, this has been my tomatillo bed. The plants are almost done for the season. They really get tired out after a long season of heat here. So as you can see, I have ripped up a few of them. Kind of got the stems in the ground to decompose a little bit. But these I'm just waiting because there are still a few tomatillos that I'm waiting to pick, and once I'm done with those, these will get ripped up as well. I do have a rosemary in the middle, which I wasn't really able to see all summer, as well as marigolds, and then this basil was kind of growing up against one, so it looks a little wonky right now, but it looks better from this side here. You can see just how big this thing is. It's kind of crazy, and I really do need to kind of trim this back because there are so many little flower heads popping up. The same can kind of be said over here. These tomatillos, I didn't ever really get anything from them because I planted them super late. They look awful. I think I'm just gonna have to rip them up. And I've been slowly ripping up my old cucumber plants. I want to get some new ones in the ground for the fall, and I have kind of a pile of leaf mulch I've been making. But my flowers in here have been doing really well. They're super pretty. And so have my carrots. I've been getting really tall carrots. This one's ready to pick because I think it's gonna try to flower soon. And then I have some small carrots growing in there. I haven't gotten a cucumber here in a few days, but I can't really rip them all up right now because there is a praying mantis that is living in there and I can't see him right now. So unfortunately, he's hiding, but this is his home, so I don't really want to rip this up and just kind of dislocate him. I want to get some new cucumbers growing up here first, and then hopefully he'll be able to just kind of switch off. Next to it over here, this is my pumpkin bed. I did just harvest my pumpkin, and I'm kind of just waiting to see if it'll put out any female flowers. But the bees have been really happy with the male flowers here, so that's good. And then I did let my dill go to flower, so hopefully we'll get some seed from it soon. And over here, this is my bean bed. The bush beans are a little bit tired. They're dying back, but that's all right because I got the new ones in the other bed. The bees here absolutely love this summer savory. They're having a blast. Oh, I think this guy's sleeping. He's just waking up. I've never seen a bee wake up before. It's actually really cute. Anyway, I also have some milkweed for when the monarchs arrive, and I've got some random flowers all over the place. I have succession sown a bunch of edamame, and it is producing in these here. You can see that. These are all of the edamame pods. They're just about ready. I kind of wait to see how plump they are. So I should be able to harvest those soon. And then of course over here, my Chinese green noodle beans are doing fantastic. You can see a nutmeg back there just watching me, but these are doing so well. And they've got a bunch of new flowers all the time, as well as some beans. Let me fix this one's orientation. So I'm actually gonna harvest this one today. This is a pretty good size. So that's everything for the bean bed here. Next to it here, this is my cayenne pepper bed. It's been doing surprisingly really well this year. I have been getting lots of cayennes around. Different sizes, it's kind of interesting. I get some small ones and then I get some that are absolutely giant. But also the one thing that has really surprised me is how well these marigolds are doing. This was just 2 marigold plants and they've completely taken over the entire bed. They took over so much that my petunia couldn't survive. I do have a volunteer milkweed here, which will be fine. I've got volunteer milkweed everywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my cayenne bed. I'll just show you really quickly. I've got a few more peppers maturing in here. And that's it for that. Next to it, kind of kitty corner over here, this is my watermelon bed. I have grown quite a few this summer up on this trellis, which has been a lot of fun, but I also have some that grow out on the ground. This one is almost ready. It's really long, which I kind of like. Super long boy right here, not the typical round watermelon that we're used to seeing. And over here, I did have zucchini earlier in the year, but the squash vine borers were just too much. So no zucchini anymore, just watermelons in here. Lastly, over here is my tree orchard. These trees struggled a little bit during the summer months. I also didn't realize how much you have to water them, so I was underwatering them at first. But the one that Nutmeg is basically sitting on over here is my peach tree. I do have some new growth that has shot up this year. It doesn't look the best. I think maybe this is some sunburn. It's not really used to several hours of the direct sun here, but I'm hoping it'll get stronger during the fall and the spring. It seems to be surviving at the very least, and maybe we'll get a couple peaches next year from this one. My lemon tree over here, I did something similar where I totally underwatered it, and then I finally realized I was underwatering it as it only had a handful of leaves left. But for the past 2 weeks, I've been watering it really well, and it's exploded with new growth, so I'm really happy about that. Putting out new shoots everywhere. The lemons on it have started to turn yellow a little bit, which is also really nice. And I have it in this pot here so that in the winter, when we get those couple of freezes, I can just bring it inside and hopefully it'll be okay. Next to it is the one that's probably doing the worst out of all of my trees, and that is my plum tree. It has a little bit of new growth, but not much. I don't really know what's wrong with it. I do know that I probably underwatered it, just like I underwatered those over there. So hopefully now with the better watering schedule, it will recover. Maybe that'll just take the cooler weather in the fall to do that. Finally, I have one that I've not put in the ground yet because it's just too warm to do that. And it's one that I thought died. As you can see, this is the not so glamorous part of gardening, is sometimes you have some fails, but this plant did come back, and this is my bay leaf tree. I really thought it had died, but it is a trooper. I have been watering it better, and as soon as the temperature drops, I'm putting it right here in the ground. And this is what you want to eat for the leaves, even though it does flower. They're really good in soups and stews, a lot of cooking. So I'm really excited to kind of have this tree recovering and get it into the ground. So that is it for our garden tour this morning for the month of August. As you can see, we're kind of in a transitional phase here where the summer crops are getting a bit tired, but it's not quite fall yet. The temperatures are still really warm here. We're still in triple digits every day, so I kind of am just doing the best that I can here, and I'm still planting some summer crops that will grow here in fall because it is so warm here in the fall in Texas anyway. But thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe so you don't miss anything from me and my Nutmeg here. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next one. So I wanted to show you all before I go. I found him. This is my praying mantis friend. But also I wanted to show you, this is sort of what an everyday harvest is looking like right now in the garden. Just a few odds and ends here and there. Every day it kind of looks like this, but it does add up. If I waited and harvested things maybe every few days, sure, I'd get bigger baskets of harvest at once, but I want to pick things at the peak of their freshness. So this is about what it looks like every single day.